6:08. Please stand for the pledge. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving on to item B, additions, deletions. We have none this evening. C1, general consent agenda. Can I have a motion for general consent agenda, please? Moved by Mr. Mixek, supported by Mr. Soba. Any items in that board wishes to have removed for the discussion? Hearing none. We have a roll call vote. Ms. Biden, please.
Sure. Ms. Demink-Zak,
Yes.
Mr. Soba,
Yes.
Ms. Aquino,
Yes.
Mr. Bednard.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Vojtovich,
Yes.
ayes all, motion carries.
Frank, can I interrupt 1 second?
Absolutely.
Are you turning that down? Okay, that's it. Never mind.
Working on it. Okay, we'll move on to item D, Board of Education vacancy or selection process. I do have a note that we had written up here to explain this process and how the board is going to go tonight to select our final candidates for interview. So this kind of explains that. So I wanted to read that first before we began our selection process. Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education seat vacancy discussion and introduction. Chippewa Valley Schools received a letter of resignation from trustee Dr. Jolene Adriasco on September 23rd, 2021. Pursuant to state law and Board of Education policy and bylaws, the board must appoint an individual to the vacant board seat within 30 days. Therefore, the available board seat was posted via email and in the Macomb Daily with an application deadline of October 1st, 2021. The board is utilizing the Michigan Association of School Boards Board Vacancy Toolkit to assist with the selection process. The toolkit identifies multiple attributes that make a qualified candidate. The attributes the toolkit identifies are as follows. Number one, the candidate puts children first. Number two, the candidate does not have a single item or political agenda. Number three, the candidate exhibits leadership qualities. Number four, the candidate appreciates diversity. Number five, the candidate understands budget and finances. Number six, the candidate demonstrates knowledge of educational issues and policies. Number seven, the candidate demonstrates integrity. Number eight, the candidate demonstrates an understanding of community outreach. And number nine, the candidate understands the role of potential board member, accepts and expects accountability. Board received applications from 23 individuals. In order to gather additional information about the applicants, questions were sent to them on October 5th, 2021. The deadline to respond to the questions was October 7th, 2021, to which 21 of the applicants responded. As a result, the board members have had the opportunity to review the applications and answers from the 21 individuals. The purpose of tonight's meeting is for the board to select a group of candidates to interview on Thursday, October 14th, 2021. We will move this process along by first reading the names of 21 applicants, and then asking each current board member to list their top 4 candidates in no particular order. The candidates who are listed on at least 4 of the board members' list will be granted an interview with the board on October 14th, 2021. The 21 candidates are, I'll read the names. Number 1, Karen Blair. Number 2, Chilean Burks Andrew. Number 3, John Lippoliti. Number 4, Sheila Goldstein. Number 5, Christopher Gura. Number 6, Jean Kazmierczak. 7, Sandra Karanovic. Number 8, Louis Miles III. Number 9, Kristen Murray. Number 10, Julia Odie. Number 11, Kenneth Pearl. Number 12, Terry Prince. 13, Monica Radko. 14, Gina Redlin. 15, Jason Ryan. 16, Gretchen Vermiglio. 17, Eric Wachterhauser. 18, Bruce Wade. 19, Kent West. 20, Amy Wiley. And 21, Felix Winkler. I'm going to ask Beth Pyden, the board secretary, to read the roll call of the board. When Ms. Pyden states your name, please indicate your top 4 candidates. Ms. Pyden will keep track of who is named by each board member. An unofficial tally will also be placed on the smart board for the audience to view in real time. Once each board member provides their top 4 candidates, Ms. Pyden will read the individuals who were named by the board members and how many board members had them on their list. The board may complete another round of this process if there are not 5 or 6 individuals who a majority of the board moves forward. For example, if 3 candidates are on 4 or more board members' lists, these candidates will move forward and be interviewed. If there are then 8 individuals who are on 3 of the board members' list, the board will rank the top 2 of those 8 individuals to determine who will be interviewed by the board. Are there any questions by the board related to tonight's process? Okay. So with that, Ms. Pyden, I will turn it over to you to read the roll call of the board and for each board member to provide their top 4 candidates.
Ms. Aquino.
Yes, in alphabetical order, Christopher Gura, Kristen Murray, Kenneth Pearl, and Jason Ryan.
Mr. Bednar.
In no particular order. So this is better here. Here. Okay. All right, my 4 candidates I selected are Bruce Wade, Kenneth Pearl, Christopher Gura, and Karen Ann Blair.
Ms. Demink-Zek.
Okay, mine are in alphabetical order by last name is Burks Andrews, Kazmierczak, Wade, and Wiley.
I'm sorry, what was the last one?
Wiley,
Thank
Amy.
you. Okay, and mine in alphabetical order are Christopher Gura, Kristen Murray, Kenneth Pearl, and Jason Ryan. Mr. Soba.
Mine were also Chris Gura, Kristen Murray, Kenneth Pearl, and Jason Ryan.
Mr. Vojtovich.
Mine, first one's Monica Redco, Louis Miles III, Terry Prince, and Jean Kaczmarek. Zach.
Okay, Mr. Bednar, would you like me now to read the candidates and how many votes they each received?
The candidates that received votes, yes.
Okay, the ones that received votes. Karen Blair, 1. Chellen Burks Andrews, 1. Christopher Gura, 4. Jean Kaczmarek, 2. Louis Miles III, 1. Kristen Murray, 3. Kenneth Pearl, 4. Terry Prince, 1. Monica Radico, 1. Jason Ryan, 3. Bruce Wade, 2. Amy Wiley, 1.
Okay, it appears we have 6 candidates with 2 or more votes. Does everybody concur?
Yes.
Yes.
You got 6,
Yes.
everybody's got 6. Could you read those 6? Therefore, those 6 candidates, Ms. Podden is naming now will be the 6 that we will interview on Thursday night.
Okay. Christopher Gura. Jean Kaczmarek. Kristen Murray. Kenneth Pearl. Jason Ryan. And Bruce Wade.
Okay, very good. Now, the board will notify these individuals. We will meet at Dakota High School auditorium this Thursday at 6 o'clock for another special meeting to make our selection for our appointment to the Board of Education. So 6 o'clock on Thursday at Dakota High School auditorium will be the venue. Okay. Next point of order is the formatting for our interviews on Thursday evening. Was a number of questions that were selected by the MASB, which the candidates will be asked. I believe there's 5 questions we were going to ask. It's up for grabs what the board thinks. If, they would like to have additional questions. There was a 20-minute format that we're going to put on each answering for each candidate to answer those questions. They'd all be asked the same questions. We'd have to run the interviews so that we could get all the questions in by all the candidates in that time.
Do we have a list of the questions?
I do have a list. I don't know if you have copies for the board.
Mm-mm.
I can read through the, okay. Yes, that'd be helpful. If you could pass those out. Ms. Adlam, thank you. For the sake of this, because it's televised and candidates who are going to be interviewed are in the audience, to be fair, once the board has the questions in front of them, I will read the numbers of the ones we will be, at least the ones I'd advise would use, in my opinion, and we discussed. But I'd ask the board not to read the question, but simply just identify the number. It is if you chose. So I'll give you the ones I thought, and then we can discuss it after. Thank you.
Thanks.
So we were talking about 4 to 5 questions, probably 4 gives them 5 minutes for discussion. Also. But that's up to the board. Give you a minute to read these. Yeah.
How many are you recommending we ask?
I'll ask the board. Okay, so these were again were questions, filling a board vacancy by appointment. That's a simple guide to the fundamentals of board vacancies and were sample questions through Michigan Association of School Boards through their toolkit that they submitted. So if you had a chance to read through them, I'd ask that we narrow them to at least 5, even 4 would be, I think, appropriate for the timeframes we're having to interview these individuals to get all 6 in on Thursday night. So,
Ask a question.
sure.
Personally, I think these are all good questions.
Yep.
And why do we want to pare them down?
Why do we want to?
Pare them down.
I
to
just
fewer
think that in the
questions.
interest of being able to get through the interview, if we're staying with 20-minute interviews, I don't know if having 8 questions would be, they're one-line answers, yes, but what's the
That-
board feel?
That was kind of my thought. I like the questions and I think some of these can be answered very succinctly. And I think that if we let people know, like, hey, you have 10 minutes left and they've only gotten through 2 questions, I think that's fair, like kind of as a warning, like, hey, speed
Okay.
it up a little.
That's fair.
But I think these are all really fair questions.
I think number 1, they already answered though.
I'm sorry.
Number 1, they've already answered.
That's true.
So
Yeah, I couldn't hear.
One.
Another, yeah. That one should be real quick then, right? But yeah, I think from this, I don't know if that was the number 1 on the MESB list, but I'm guessing it's just kind of like a warm-up question for people just because, but yeah, you're right. They already answered it. So,
Other board comments on the questions?
I mean,
So far I have 2 board members that would stay with all 8, or 3 board members that would stay with the 7 at least, so.
I also would stay with the 7.
7.
Yeah, I could probably get down to 6.
which one?
And so we have 4 board members that are requesting the 7 questions, and I think Ms. Pipe had said if we give some timeframes while they're answering, they would be able to move along and get all the questions in. Mr. John Cava is attorney for the school district and attends many board meetings throughout Macomb County and the Tri-County area. Maybe what do you think about 7 questions? If we do a 20-minute time frame, and what you observed in the past, what have you saw?
Yeah, I think between the questions that you have and with Ms. Piden's suggestion to inform the individuals of their time limits, I think it's a fair amount of time. I've worked with boards that have had as short as 15 minutes to answer questions. So I think 20 minutes is a fair amount of time when you're interviewing 6 people from what I've seen. And again, providing that time limit, which is similar to what will take place sometimes with our application process for employees in the district. And so I think it's fair for you to be aware that the board members you're interviewing also know how to manage their time when they're responding.
Yeah. Okay, so I have 4 board members that want to go 7 questions, so we will go with the 7, skipping number 1.
Mr. Bednar? Mr. Silva had said we might be able to get down to 6. I'd like to hear, is there another one you think we might be able to get rid of?
I would get rid of 4.
Number
I
4.
would concur with that, George. I'd be okay eliminating 1 and 4.
Um,
Board
anyone
comments?
else? What do you guys?
I'm fine
think?
with that too.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'm in the minority for sure. I just think it's good to hear what people think are the important skills that students need to graduate, because sometimes
That's
that
not
gets
what we're
lost to
reading
be
the question.
successful. But no, I'm okay. I mean, whatever, it's
Mhm.
okay. I'm just telling you why
Denise.
I don't just.
But we've just
Denise.
disqualified the question.
Okay,
What was that? Yeah, that's fine.
We've
That's
just
fine.
disqualified it.
Sounds
we-
good.
we'll go, we'll, majority of the board would like to
Yep.
move on about number 4 also, so that one will also be taken out. So we have
That's good.
6 left. Is there any objection from the board with those remaining 6 questions to be asked? And for the record, the ones that have been removed, number 1 was, why are you interested in serving on the school board? And number 4 was, what do you think are the most important skills for students to have when they graduate? The other 6 will remain on. And Mr. Carver, will we be giving these prior, or these will be asked the night of? Will those candidates that are finalists, so to
That's the
speak,
discussion.
be given these prior to the meeting, or we get those at the meeting they just asked?
Yeah, it's up for how the board wants to handle it moving forward. What was discussed with you and I previously was the district, again, just discussing the application process with employees. Sometimes questions are given 15, 20 minutes beforehand for individuals to review. Sometimes they're asked on the spot, depending on the position. Based on the nature of the school board seat that's up for the position and wanting to understand the knowledge the individual candidate has, we discussed asking the questions with the person in front of us without providing them beforehand. But that's up for debate or up for discussion with the board as well. But the idea is that these questions require some knowledge of the district before someone sits here, and you want to make sure they have that knowledge and can't be Googling things 15, 20 minutes beforehand to respond to questions.
Okay, that and separating the candidates from the room so they don't have an advantage if they were selected 5th person to be interviewed versus, so they would be kept separate from room. There's no legal requirement for us to have them in the room, is there?
Well, we can request that everyone remains out of the room until the time that their actual interview is scheduled for. And so I believe we're at Dakota on Thursday, so we'll ask them to stay out of the
Okay,
auditorium.
so we could ask them to cooperate with our
Correct.
request.
Correct.
Okay.
Is it televised?
Yes, it's gonna be televised, and the plan is to have the candidates interviewed on stage with us.
So what's stopping somebody from texting interviewee number 3 what the questions are?
What was that?
I can't hear.
Oh, that is true. You're right.
Like what's stopping somebody that's watching the television or the questions from texting somebody that hasn't interviewed yet? the
I mean,
question?
yeah, I suppose
That's
that's
true.
true. Somebody wanted to do that. I don't
So-
know how we could stop that. We can't, I can't take somebody's cell phone, I guess. I mean.
I mean,
we
that's-
just ask
I
them.
think it's good. I think make a good point.
Yeah,
honestly.
because somebody could have 2 hours to prepare.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is very true.
Right.
Okay. I want to be as transparent as possible. We've gone through this process in my tenure, maybe 5 or 6, I don't know, 4 or 5 times or 6 times. I can't remember. And before, because the technology didn't exist, we didn't, could we have our meeting like on YouTube after instead of having it live as it's going on?
It's up to the board. We do have Dakota's auditorium. I mean, there's plenty of seating there. That was the
Right.
idea if the community was going to come. We could, based on Mr. Mink's comments, that it's not a bad idea to keep that one untelevised. Folks that want to attend are welcome to come.
Mhm.
Got a huge room for them to sit in and watch.
Okay.
We've never televised those before. Not to say we don't want to, but I think, as you mentioned, in fairness, that is a great point. So how does the board feel about not televising these candidate questions, these interviews?
Until after? Like we would
We could
would
record
tape
it.
it and
perhaps
then,
and play it after.
tape it
Yeah.
and then
Okay,
place on
that's a good
YouTube.
idea.
I'm fine with that, but kind of going along with what Ms. Demink-Zek said, I don't think that there is anything preventing someone from going on Facebook Live or still sitting in the auditorium and
Oh, right.
texting someone outside of the auditorium.
Have you texted from that auditorium?
What?
Have you ever tried texting from that auditorium?
No.
Did she say?
Maybe I'll try texting
No
service.
Yeah, there's no.
It doesn't
service.
work?
It's not good
Okay.
service. That's good.
Then I'm perfectly okay with it then.
I mean, Paul, am I wrong? Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so if I understand the board's desires, it is to not to televise the interviews, to record it and televise it at a later time after the interviews are completed and our selection is made. We're not gonna be able to stop every person that wants to try to, and we don't even know if people are gonna do that. We're assuming that, but it could happen, but I would think in the integrity of the board candidate, we'd be able to kind of see that through our questions that that was not really their answer or something that they kind of memorized or that kind of thing. It's the best we can do, being as fair as we can, and still being transparent to the community on what we're doing. So is anybody object to that?
No.
Okay,
Well, I'm okay with that.
okay, so we have the questions, we have the timeframes, and we have the format. Is there any other issues pertaining to Thursday's selection meeting that the board would like to discuss at this time?
I have a question. So I'm assuming our goal is at the end of the night, we will come up with, we will know who we're selecting.
I believe what we discussed, Mr. Cobb, please join in, but I think we talk about out of the 6, narrowing it down to top 2 and then going from there.
But
But it's up to the board. It's our.
on a different date, you
selection
mean, or
process, so
that night? I thought we were
Is that
hoping
what we
to come.
spoke about?
Well, yeah, so the pursuant to the law, we need to make or the board needs to make a decision by October 22nd. So if you don't select someone on Thursday, you need to make sure, and can't remember if you have a meeting. I think you do have
Yes,
a meeting on
18th.
Monday. Yeah. So you could reserve your final decision until Monday and still be within that time frame. That's really up to you as a board if you want to make that decision Thursday evening, or if you want to, again, have a top 2 or top 3 and then bring that back for a vote on Monday.
I have a question about the selection of the top 2 or 3 people. Will it go much like this evening where each of us in a roll call vote say these are our 2 top choices?
Yeah, we're not going to be grading or scoring that way. It's just a matter of top votes.
I guess,
So I can say one of the things I keep on hearing
Yeah.
is
what was that?
people are concerned with trying to get somebody on the board that has children in the district. Is that still important to this board?
That's up to the boards and how they vote. I mean, that's individual. It's not a prerequisite.
It's certainly a
Okay.
consideration that I think all of us would take, but I wouldn't preclude anybody because they don't either. I think you have to look at experience and look at,
Okay, I just
Their
know I've heard a lot of
involvement.
times and seems to be important to the public, so.
No, it's yeah, that's up to the board members how they
It is.
want to view their board member on there with them. There's certainly nothing we could do or doesn't say in the law that you have to have children in the district to be on the board. So people are active community members who are educators or have a background, may be interested or who were interested in applying. We're not excluded. Only folks that were excluded from the other 3 who did not submit questionnaires back or did not live in the district. So they were disqualified, but that was the only parameter. Okay, and 18 years of age and so on. All right, so I think we have a format. Everybody's in agreement. Any other questions from the board? So just to reiterate one more time, so it's clear. We'll meet at Dakota's auditorium at 6 o'clock. We'll notify those candidates which are selected for interview either this evening or first thing tomorrow morning. Give them the rundown and timeframes of what's going on. They'll probably be asked to appear at Dakota's auditorium by 5:45 on Thursday evening. And we'll be seated in a room, requested to be seated in a room separate from the auditorium so that they can't hear the questions. They'll be brought in one at a time to the stage where the board will interview for 20 minutes, asking 6 questions that we've selected this evening. Following answering their questions, they will be able to watch in the audience once they've answered the questions, and the next board member will run in until we've interviewed all 6. Once the 6 have all been interviewed, the board will then discuss the candidates and come up with our top 2 or whatever format we discuss at the time. We may just, it could be that the board feels there's one candidate y'all are in agreement with and you move from there. But if not, we can discuss that following the interviews on Thursday. And we'll either name our new board member conclusion Thursday evening or on Monday's regularly scheduled board meeting on the 18th. Let me say anything, John?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay,
Mr. Bednar, I have
Yeah.
one final thing.
sure.
I would just ask that we, to protect the integrity of the process, I would just ask that we collect the questions
Yep.
and have Ms. Edlam shred them.
If you could pass your questionnaires back down this way, please, that'd be great. Yeah.
I think I wrote, oh, you did too. Does it matter?
Yeah, I think our aim will be, I just don't want to lock us in. Yeah, I don't want to lock us in. Yeah. I think we'll gotta get back to district business here. So. Okay. Okay, and that will conclude our selection process for this evening. I want to thank all the candidates who submitted their questionnaires. Some of those were very well thought out and lengthy answers, and a lot of great candidates. And I think we're all very pleased that so many people took genuine interest and want to be a part of this Board of Education and be a community leader. So we thank all the candidates for their time and efforts in completing questionnaires. Certainly, there may be board openings in the near future, so stay tuned, and perhaps we can entertain this again and have some other folks come in. All right, that will conclude the selection process. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda for the evening, and that is D from the community. Do we have some slips this evening? Ms. Blair? No slips. Okay. That's item E from the community. And moving on to F, of and by the board members. Anybody? Okay, we'll move on to G, adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn? By
Support.
Dominguez Zek,
Support.
and supported by Mr. Vaitovich. Roll call vote. Ms. Hayden, please.
Yes.
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 Yes.